My beloved child, you must understand something now before the moment slips into something too late to reverse. Your identity is not up for debate, nor is your worth fragile like a paper crown in a windstorm. I do not whisper your name in heaven out of obligation. I declare it with power because you are my beloved, my intentional creation, not a forgotten face in a crowd. The enemy has tried to bury you under layers of shame, rejection, and confusion, hoping you would forget who you are. But I am here right now pressing this truth upon you because there is no more time to hesitate. You are not ordinary. You are not disposable. You are not just surviving. You are cherished. And when I say cherished, I do not mean tolerated. I do not mean pitied. I mean treasured in the deepest chambers of my divine affection. I mean engraved, not written in erasable ink, not penciled in temporarily, but carved into the very pulse of my heart. You live in a place that no darkness can erase, no accusation can silence, no failure can cancel. I am not coming to remind you of your sins. I'm arriving to remind you of your name. I've seen you trying to earn what was always freely given, measuring your value by how others treat you or by the pace of your progress. But that scale is broken. It never came from me. That is why I am urging you now, pleading even do not place your security in titles, possessions, relationships, or fragile approval from people who do not know your eternity. Your protection begins the moment you stand in the truth of who you are to me. Until you do that, your soul will be vulnerable to every lie the world throws like flaming arrows. I have not called you into this hour to merely exist. I've called you to awaken, to remember, to take up the robe I wove for you, woven with mercy, embroidered in purpose, soaked in eternal love. Even now, I stretch out my hand to steady your trembling heart, not because you are weak, but because I know what's trying to reach you. And I refuse to let fear define you when I have already called you mine. I see the cracks in your armor. I see the way your eyes glance at others, wondering if they are more loved than you, more protected, more seen. But hear me now. Nothing and no one outranks the love I have sealed over you. No matter what voices from your past try to resurrect their mockery, I silence them with the thunder of my affection. And I say again, you are cherished. Not yesterday, not someday. Now, this instant, in the middle of your mess, before the healing is visible, before the breakthrough comes, before you feel strong, you are cherished. Not because of what you do, but because of who I am and who you are to me. So guard your identity, child. Guard it fiercely. The thief comes first to rob this truth before anything else, because if he can steal your sense of worth, the rest falls with ease. But I will let him not on my watch. That's why I lean so close right now, why I'm speaking with such urgency, because I'm not just offering comfort. I'm issuing a call. Pick up your name again. Dust it off from where it's been buried under disappointment. Hold it like a sword. Wear it like a crown. Walk like one who has been marked by heaven. You are cherished, and that means you're not walking alone into what's coming. You're walking with the one whose heartbeat holds your name. Don't be distracted by how peaceful everything looks on the surface. What you're seeing with your natural eyes is not the full picture. Beneath the calm, beneath the laughter, beneath the illusion of safety, there are spiritual fault lines shifting in silence. The adversary does not knock with noise. First, he camouflages himself in routine, in distraction, in comfort so polished you almost miss the trap beneath it. And that's why I'm lifting the veil, peeling it back even now, because time is too short for you to be caught unaware. I am not revealing these shadows to scare you, my child, but to prepare you, because love warns, and love exposes what pretends to be harmless. What's brewing isn't obvious to the untrained heart, but I have chosen you to see deeper, feel stronger, and respond sooner. There's a reason you've been feeling unsettled even in the middle of what should be peace. That restlessness is not a sign of weakness, it's a divine alarm clock sounding in your spirit. I've been whispering, stirring, nudging, but now I must speak louder because the delay in your response is costing too much. You matter far too much to walk blind into spiritual warfare disguised as everyday life. There are assignments planned against your focus, against your family, against your emotional stability crafted not by accident but through calculated schemes. And if you continue to ignore the inner tension you feel, you'll walk directly into what I meant for you to overcome. That's why I say it now. Look past the smiles. Look past the schedule. Look past the ease. I'm showing you the storm clouds not to depress you, but to activate the warrior in you that's been sleeping too long under layers of normalcy. You were never built to survive only on comfort. You were built to hear my signals, to react quickly, to take spiritual cover when I say move even when others don't see a reason. What's approaching doesn't carry sirens in the air, it carries subtle shifts in atmosphere that only my sensitive ones feel. You're one of them. You were never meant to blend in. You've always had the gift to sense when something is off even if you can't explain it. That gift is your early warning. Do not silence it to fit into circles that laugh at what they cannot perceive. You've been feeling heavy lately, haven't you? But not because you're weak. The weight is spiritual pressure, the buildup of unspoken battles, the magnetic pull of things that try to attach to your soul and drain your strength when you're not looking. That's why I've been telling you to unplug more often, to draw away, to recharge in my presence before the pressure becomes too heavy to carry. You matter so deeply that I will not let you continue unaware. Even now, I'm calling you to rise above your usual habits. Set new watches. Close old doors. Question every harmless thing that has gradually desensitized your convictions. Every delay to respond allows the enemy to advance one step closer to what should have been off limits. So do not wait for the storm to break. Don't wait for the damage. Don't wait for collapse. I am speaking before it happens because I still have time to shield you. But you must take what I show you seriously. The most dangerous storms are those that begin in silence. The most devastating battles are those you failed to prepare for because you mistook quietness for safety. I don't want to see you hurt by what you could have avoided. I don't want to see your light dimmed because you allowed familiar voices to mock your discernment. If I'm showing you the sky changing, it's because you were chosen to respond while others still sleep. Cherished one, this is not panic, it is purpose. What others miss, you are meant to detect. And what you detect, you are meant to act upon. Lift your eyes now. Scan the horizon with your spirit. Let me show you what's coming so you can stand, not shiver. You don't need to be afraid of the storm, just stay close to the one who sees it before it begins. Listen this very instant. While clocks tick in familiar rhythms and traffic lights pulse in predictable cycles, a covert noose is being drawn around tender places of your soul, and its threads are spun from subtle compromises nobody applauds yet everybody eventually regrets. The quietness of these minutes is deceptive. Spiritual predators prefer sitting rooms over battlefields because soft couches disarm faster than swords. While screens glow and notifications chirp like friendly birds, agendas that oppose your destiny are mapping routes into your attention, hoping to nest before you notice. That is why I interrupt your scrolling, your errands, your coffee sips with this alarm that cannot wait. Rouse your inner sentry before the siege completes its circle. You will not hear marching boots or see banners waving, no. The encroachment advances through overlooked habits, a half-truth repeated until it feels factual, a delay in prayer that extends one sunrise too many, a private frustration nursed instead of surrendered. Each small concession seems harmless, yet together they form an invisible cord tightening millimeter by millimeter until breathing hope feels strenuous. Refuse that suffocation. Snap away. Survey the perimeter of your routines. What conversations leave you drained rather than strengthened? Which entertainments mute conviction until holiness seems extreme? Identify them quickly, because the perimeter is shrinking as you ponder. I do not divulge this to induce paranoia. I reveal it to ignite precision. I want you strategic, not fearful, alert, not anxious, because clarity is armor stronger than steel. Examine the lullaby culture hums into your ears, lyrics persuading you that urgency is exaggerated, that tomorrow always waits, that discernment is outdated. Those melodies are laced with sedatives. Spit them out. Stand, stretch your spirit, and let my words crackle like lightning through the haze of complacency. Now is the hour to reinforce disciplines you postponed, to sharpen vows you let dull, to close windows you once promised to seal. Fortify mornings with gratitude spoken aloud before opinions flood your feed. Lace afternoons with whispered scripture so truth circles back whenever deceit attempts to slip in. Conclude evenings with uncompromising confession, releasing every unresolved emotion into my care before shadows deepen. These practices may appear small, yet they function like hidden beams that hold entire cathedrals upright. While you repair those beams, recognize who benefits from your distraction. Darkness profits when visionaries drowse. Your calling terrifies hell, so lullabies have been tailored to your preferences, content curated to keep you pacified, arguments designed to keep you offended, indulgences timed to keep you too weary to intercede. Break that choreography by choosing the opposite spirit at every turn. Where bitterness beckons, bless. Where apathy yawns, act. Where cynicism jokes, prophecy promise. Each countermove widens breathing room inside the tightening coil. Do not underestimate a single courageous action, one decisive refusal to click, one gracious response to provocation, one bold step toward the lonely neighbor, because obedience shreds snares faster than angels can gather the pieces. I know fatigue presses against your eyelids. I feel the undertow of news cycles wearing down compassion, yet my power surges most fiercely in hearts that admit fatigue and still lift their gaze. So trade that weariness for my vigor. Slip your hand into mine. Let me recalibrate your pulse to heaven's cadence, and you will sense the constriction loosening already. I have not summoned you to constant crisis mode. I have summoned you to vigilant peace, serene yet watchful, calm yet ready, rested yet armed with discernment so keen that hidden threats cannot remain hidden long. Remember, serpents slither silently until lanterns swing high. So keep your lantern aflame with relentless worship, stubborn hope, riotous joy that refuses to apologize for shining. If neighbors ask why you carry such fire while the air feels tranquil, tell them quiet winds often precede tornadoes and you choose preparation over regret. Invite them under the covering of truth before gusts arrive, but whether they heed the invitation or not, do not dim your flame to match their comfort. The circle tightens even now, but your awareness widens faster, your footing grows surer. Your heart beats in tandem with mine, and fear finds no purchase where light expands. Before the hour grows too late, before decisions become regrets, and before the trap disguised as convenience tightens, I call you into divine sight, because what you cannot see will eventually shape what you become. This is not the time for blurry vision or spiritual drowsiness. This is the moment where awareness becomes your armor, your shield, your rescue. If your eyes remain closed, you may unknowingly welcome what was sent to dismantle you. But if you awaken now, truly awaken, then no darkness can catch you off guard. Awareness is not merely knowing facts, it is discernment sharpened by my presence. It is the ability to perceive the spiritual motives beneath surface behavior. It is the alertness to notice when peace leaves a room, when something unseen enters through the unguarded door of your attention. I am training your perception because what is approaching will be cloaked in beauty, cloaked in logic, cloaked in emotional appeal. It will not scream danger, it will whisper familiarity. But I've placed a sensor in your spirit, a sacred unrest, and I'm urging you to stop ignoring it. The dulling of that sense is how spiritual blindness begins. You do not need to understand everything immediately, but you must recognize when something is off. You must not override your inner check with external approval. That sensation you feel when your soul recoils in silence, that's me, not anxiety. That weight in your chest that deepens when you stay too long in conversations that drain your purity, that's a warning, not just discomfort. Train your spiritual eyes like a soldier trains in darkness, like a pilot learns instruments before flying blind. Every day you delay in sharpening awareness is a day closer to deception taking root. And child, deception once planted, grows with frightening speed. That's why I'm being so direct with you, because you matter too much to be caught in snares that only fools ignore. I've not made you foolish. You have my spirit, and my spirit gives clarity beyond your intellect. You don't need to rely on your logic alone. I am downloading wisdom that interrupts your thoughts, that sits in your stomach like holy fire, that burns through confusion if you let it rise. But you must protect that inner radar. Guard it like treasure. Do not let compromise cloud your insight. Even subtle rebellion can smudge the lens through which you see. Bitterness, jealousy, comparison, these are not just attitudes. They are fog makers. They obscure your view until right looks wrong and wrong feels justified. That's why I say repent quickly. Don't wait. Don't let minor defilement become permanent blindness. The more you walk in awareness, the more you will feel my alerts without delay. You'll notice the tone of a voice, the shift in atmosphere, the hidden hook beneath the bait. You'll step out of traps others call normal. And yes, they'll wonder why you refuse to participate. They'll call you overreactive, too spiritual, too intense, but they won't see what you see. That's okay. Your obedience is not their business. Your clarity is not up for negotiation. You are not called to fit, and you are called to pierce through. I will not let you be blindsided if you keep your eyes open. That's the condition. Do not numb yourself with entertainment that robs awareness. Do not scroll yourself into spiritual amnesia. Do not let hours pass without checking in with me. I am not far away, whispering from a distance. I am right here, speaking through stillness, through nudges, through your own discomfort. If something drains you, don't dismiss it. If peace evaporates around a certain habit, relationship, place, pay attention. Awareness begins with honoring your inner response to my promptings. I don't shout unless I must, but if you train your ears to hear me in the quiet, I'll keep you 10 steps ahead of every setup. That's how I protect you, through awareness sharpened by my nearness. But you must decide it's worth protecting. Your awareness is your first defense, your earliest shield, and once it cracks, the rest of your armor is exposed. So cherish it. Strengthen it. Feed it with worship. Guard it with silence. And walk with the confidence of one who sees beyond appearances. The shadows are lengthening, but they will not overtake the one whose eyes are wide open. Hear me in this very breath. Beloved sentinel of my purpose, lift your inner ear above street-level chatter and receive the coded rhythm of my warning drums. I have stationed myself in the highest tower of your destiny, scanning horizons beyond mortal sightlines, and what I perceive compels me to lean over ramparts and relay the coordinates of oncoming conflict. You are not abandoned to guesswork. I, the captain of angelic hosts, choose to brief you personally because the assault marching your direction wears tactics custom-built for your particular calling. It aims to collapse pillars you barely notice. Subtle interruptions to focus. Cleverly planted fatigue. Counterfeit comfort dressed as helpful counsel. Yet while subversion creeps through alleyways, I broadcast intelligence through the corridors of your spirit. Sharpen your resolve. Brace your posture. Tighten your grasp on every promise I ever spoke. My whispers are seldom thunderous, but they slice through deception with laser precision, moments of instinct that jolt you awake at 3 a.m, sudden scriptures that flare in memory while washing dishes, odd urgency to pray for someone you haven't thought about in years. Those are not random sparks. They are signal flares from your commander. Do not file them under coincidence. Treat them as encrypted dispatches requiring immediate response. When my voice brushes your conscience, it does so to preempt defeat, not to scold your weakness. If you heed swiftly, you will climb above ambush and observe every strategy unravel beneath your obedience. Standing watch, however, costs something. It demands the discipline of staying nourished on truth when convenience offers sweeter lies. It asks you to lock eyes with me more often than you glance at public opinion, to cultivate stillness louder than trending outrage. Night hair on the wall grows cold and conversations below grow tempting, but leave your station and the gates go unmanned. Remain, and I supply the endurance ordinary strength cannot provide. Think of athletes training at altitude. The thin atmosphere of commitment builds lungs for altars. Likewise, watchful living stretches your spiritual capacity until prayer becomes oxygen and discernment, muscle memory. From that vantage, you detect small disturbances others dismiss. A shift in language that normalizes compromise. A cheerful slogan concealing hopelessness. an entertainment fad grooming hearts for numbness. When you spot these patterns, do not shrug them off, sound your internal trumpet. Speak life aloud in rooms where shadows linger. Intercede with fervor until heaviness lifts. Intercession is not chromatic theatrics. It is strategic air support that clears corridors for my deliverance to flow unhindered. Know this too. Watchmen rarely stand alone. I am knitting together a network of guardians whose combined vigilance forms an unbroken perimeter around shared promises. Ask me to highlight your co-sentinels, friends who feel odd urgency at the same instant you do, strangers whose prayers echo yours without prior agreement. Reach for them. Link shields. Hell trembles when isolated torches converge into blazing walls of light. Collaboration does not dilute your unique assignment. It multiplies your reach. Where your voice falters, another can amplify. Where your faith dips, another can hoist you higher. Even solitude upon the rampart is merely temporary. Between relay points I pass revelation from one watchtower to the next until the entire fortress buzzes with unified alertness. Do not fear what approaches. Revere the one who alerts you first. Panic corrodes precision, but reverence refines it. Let every alarm I sound propel you into proactive authority. Tighten boundaries, reinforce habits, rehearse declarations. Saturate your atmosphere with worship until confusion finds no foothold. Picture saplings bending beneath early autumn winds. If their roots are shallow, the first storm uproots them. If their roots are deep, identical winds strengthen trunk and spread. I am giving you wind warnings ahead of schedule so you can drive roots deeper, refuse fractional allegiance, and emerge sturdier than before assault began. Enemy encirclement might feel intimidating, yet your awareness converts intimidation into intelligence, and intelligence into triumph. So rise now, no tremor in your knees, no apology on your lips. Let spine straighten, let gaze lock forward, let spirit tune to my frequency where whispers roar with destiny. While adversaries close ranks, you will not crumble, you will climb. You will hear, adjust, and outmaneuver. You will intercept sabotage before it detonates and transform battlefields into testimonies. For I remain on this wall with you, eyes aflame, voice sure, commitment unshakable, and together we will greet the dawn, having held every inch entrusted to your care. Now listen closely, this moment is critical. The enemy does not always arrive in armor or fury. Sometimes he strolls in dressed as relief. Not every hand extended to you is sent from me. Not every voice that sounds soothing carries purity. There are smiles that hide daggers, advice that's laced with poison, and invitations that look like kindness but drag you closer to captivity. That's why I'm urging you now, reinforce your gates with truth. Not assumption, not preference, not popular opinion, pure, unfiltered, Holy Spirit breathed truth. Because the disguise is getting better. The counterfeit grows more convincing. What once looked obviously wicked now wears a cloak of partial scripture, now quotes bits of me out of context, now offers ease instead of obedience. You cannot afford to welcome what simply sounds nice. It must resonate with the truth I've already written deep inside you. If it contradicts my word, even slightly, shut the gate. Deception will not knock with threats. It will knock with promises. It will appeal to your weariness. It will target your wounds. It will find the places where you are still waiting for answers, still healing from betrayal, still longing for resolution, and it will craft a message tailored for your vulnerability. That's why the only unbreakable lock is truth, truth that cannot be bribed, cannot be softened, cannot be swayed by applause. I see the areas where you've been tempted to let your guard down, not because you're rebellious, but because you're tired. I see how exhaustion has tried to convince you to accept the lesser version of your calling. But I am stepping in now to wake you with urgency. You are not just a gatekeeper, you are the very gate itself. What you allow in will determine the direction of your soul. That's not grammatic. That's reality. The door to your life must not be open to every appealing idea, even if it looks like it carries peace. False peace is the deadliest weapon in this hour. It doesn't argue. It sedates. And when you're finally silent enough to feel the absence of my presence, the damage has already begun. Truth, however, is not fragile. It doesn't change with trends. It stands when everything else fades. When you anchor your convictions in truth, you stop needing to check the temperature of people's opinions. You stop needing their permission to obey me. You stop hesitating when I give a command that costs comfort. My truth is not merely information, it is stability in a collapsing age. When lies try to dress up as solutions, you'll have discernment that slices straight through the surface. You won't need a debate. You'll just know. And that knowing will protect you like an invisible shield. But that kind of discernment doesn't come from scrolling endlessly or leaning on your own reasoning. It's birthed in the quiet moments when you let my voice cleanse every dusty corner of your mind, when you allow my spirit to scrub away compromise, when you sit at my feet and allow me to make your heart sharp again. I must be honest with you, there are relationships trying to enter through the cracks of your unguarded moments. Conversations that feel affirming, yet drain your fire. Teachings that sound intellectual, yet erode your hunger for righteousness. Influences that seem harmless, but their root system is connected to pride, rebellion, and spiritual decay. The gate is yours to reinforce. I will not do it for you. I will warn you. I will prompt you. I will even wrestle with you in the night through dreams, convictions, and divine restlessness, but the hinge of the gate is your decision. Shut it where you must. Seal it with my word. Bolt it with intercession. And stand by it as one who knows your value is too high to let in every flattering stranger. Your protection does not start with defense against attacks, it starts with refusal to entertain deceit. Let your standard rise again. Let truth be the foundation of every yes and no. Let purity become more precious than popularity. I'm not calling you to paranoia, I'm calling you to precision. Because what's coming next in your life will attract more attention, more invitations, and more subtle opportunities to stray. But if your gate is fortified with truth, none of them will move you. You will recognize the imitation instantly. You will smile, nod, and close the door. You will remain unmoved. You will remain unshaken. And you will walk in peace, not the counterfeit kind, but the kind that truth alone can build. The battle you face now is not only around you, it is raging within the borders of your own mind, where stray thoughts are trying to grow into strongholds. You must treat every thought not as harmless passing scenery, but as a guest either sent from my spirit or from a dark agenda meant to corrupt your focus. Your mind is the field the enemy studies most, because he knows if he can sow just a few distorted beliefs, they will multiply without resistance if left unchecked. That is why I am commanding you now, not gently suggesting guard your thoughts. Do not assume your mental atmosphere is safe just because things seem calm. The war begins where your attention lands. Where your thoughts settle, your choices follow. Where your choices move, your entire direction shifts. If you think lightly about what you allow to repeat in your mind, you will soon find yourself in places I never led you. Like a shepherd with only one lamb left at the edge of night, you must stay alert. This is not about panic, it's about precision. The enemy does not send armies to crash the gate anymore. He sends whispers, carefully timed impressions, and emotional echoes of pain from your past, hoping you will feed them long enough for them to take root. He waits for your tired moments. He watches when you're isolated. He monitors when your heart is aching and vulnerable, and then he releases a thought that seems innocent. You're not really needed. Maybe it's always going to be this way. You're falling behind. They don't care about you. These lies don't announce themselves as enemies. They wear the voice of your own doubt. And if you don't intercept them, they'll begin rewriting the truth I've placed inside of you. So I am teaching you the urgency of daily interception. Do not allow thoughts to roam unchecked. Take hold of each one and ask, does this agree with what God has promised me? If the answer is no, cast it down. Reject it like poison. Speak truth against it immediately, out loud if necessary. Do not wait until the feeling has fully matured. The longer you entertain it, the stronger it becomes. I have given you weapons for this. My word is not decoration. It is your tool for mental warfare. Use it. Declare my truth like a sword until the fog lifts and clarity returns. Do not depend on feelings to validate truth. Often, truth feels like resistance before it feels like peace. There are thoughts that will come dressed in the colors of logic and self-protection, but they are subtle cages keeping you from healing, keeping you from reaching out, keeping you from stepping into the risk of obedience. You must expose them. You must shine light into them. Because left in darkness, they will grow fangs. And they won't stop with one area of your life. They'll spread like mold into every relationship, every decision, every dream. I have called you to renewal, not decay. But that begins with vigilance. Just as a shepherd counts his lambs every night to ensure none are missing, you must examine your thoughts to ensure none have wandered too far from truth. If they have, go after them. Bring them back. Direct them. Retrain your mind like a warrior sharpens his sword after every battle. And don't do this alone. Invite me into the process. I am not waiting on the sidelines while you wrestle with confusion or discouragement. I'm right here, speaking clarity, flooding your mind with peace that surpasses understanding. But you must choose to focus on what I'm saying instead of what fear is suggesting. Fear will always offer a version of the future that excludes me. That is how you recognize it. My voice may challenge you, but it will never abandon you. It will never isolate you or condemn you. It will remind you who you are, what you carry, and where I'm taking you. That's the atmosphere I want your mind to live in. So be ruthless in your thought life. Do not excuse bitterness. Do not tolerate cycles of guilt. Do not rehearse failure. Train your thoughts to echo what I have already spoken, and you will begin to notice how powerfully your life begins to shift. Atmospheres will change. Chains will break. Directions will realign. It begins not in crowds or pulpits, but here, in the private place of your thinking, where the greatest victories are first won. And that is why I say it again with urgency: guard your thoughts with the care of a shepherd at dusk, because the night is nearer than you think. Let me show you a secret the enemy hates you. Discovering gratitude is not merely a nice attitude. It is a spiritual force, a blazing torch that repels darkness more effectively than long prayers prayed without belief. When the shadows creep in, when discouragement slinks toward your door, when doubt swirls just beyond what you can articulate, gratitude is your weapon. Not just a reaction after blessings arrive, but a deliberate decision to announce light even while surrounded by the unseen. It tells the invisible world, I see who walks with me, even when I can't see where we're going. I urge you to take this seriously, because where you withhold gratitude, fear takes up space. Not all battles are won with shouting. Some are won in quiet rooms, with hearts that whisper, thank you, when nothing in the moment seems worthy of praise. Darkness loses leverage where thanksgiving lives. The enemy feeds on bitterness, murmuring, and self-pity. He thrives in rooms where disappointment echoes louder than trust. But when your soul begins to thank me not for pretend blessings, but for who I am, even in the delay you build a fortress. You construct walls not of stone but of light. And where there is light, confusion cannot manipulate you. You begin to think differently. You perceive differently. You breathe differently. You are no longer reacting to pressure, you're standing with a power that pressure cannot cancel. That is why I am urging you in this hour. Light the lamp of gratitude and keep it burning, especially when it would feel easier to complain, retreat, or demand answers. When gratitude becomes your rhythm, you no longer crumble under weight, you rise under revelation. You stop begging me to move and begin recognizing how I already am. Gratitude sharpens vision. When you train your spirit to notice me in small details, the right words spoken at the right time, the peace that returns after tears, the strength to make it through another day, you start to see patterns. And those patterns form a map. That map reminds you that I have never left. I am guiding you still. Even when the terrain feels unfamiliar, gratitude reorients you. It pulls you out of mental fog and anchors your focus to truth instead of fear. Think of it like fire in a window during a blizzard. It doesn't change the weather, but it signals safety, signals warmth, signals someone is still inside, still awake, still expecting dawn. And make no mistake, the enemy hates unexpected. He doesn't mind if you go through the motions. He doesn't mind if you sing psalms or say prayers, as long as your heart stays cold and suspicious. But once gratitude enters the picture, your posture shifts. You stop being a victim and begin walking as a partner in what I'm building. Gratitude is agreement with me. It is your signature on my promises. It says, I may not have seen it yet, but I believe you're already working. And once you begin to live from that place, chains start breaking that you didn't even know were there. Emotional fog lifts. Discouragement shrinks. You become a person the enemy cannot predict because you stop being controlled by what is missing, and you become fueled by what is already given. But understand, this is not about pretending to be happy. This isn't blind positivity. This is war. This is standing in the middle of the battlefield and raising a banner that says, I know who my defender is. When you praise me through tears, when you thank me during silence, when you speak my goodness out loud, when everything in your life begs you not to, that's when spiritual atmospheres shift. That's when breakthrough finds you. Not because I need your gratitude to act, but because your gratitude prepares your heart to receive what I'm already sending. Bitterness closes hands. Gratitude opens them. So I say to you now, place that lamp in your window. Let thankfulness be seen in how you speak, how you react, how you carry yourself when no one is watching. Let it shine when your prayers are answered, and even louder when they're not. Let it burn through midnight silence. Let it glow through aching seasons. Because gratitude will light the way for angels to move, for promises to accelerate, and for you to become unshakable in a world that is always shifting. Let me impress this upon you now, while breath still heats your lungs and possibility still sparks inside every syllable you have yet to release. Your words are seed and sword, blueprint and shield, conduit and declaration, and the unseen realm hinges on how you wield them. When anxiety stalks the corridors of your mind, it first attempts to muzzle you. It knows that if it can convince you to go quiet, hopelessness gains uncontested territory. So I am pressing you, refuse the gag order of dread. Open your mouth, yes, even when emotion quivers in your throat, even when doubt insists authenticity requires silence, and say what is true anyway. Utter the promise that seems too large for your current space. Announce the healing that looks impossible in the present symptoms. Call forth provision while your pockets still echo. Life is voice activated, and the atmosphere around you is waiting for a cue. If you withhold that cue, emptiness repeats itself. But if you release even faint, shaky declarations of hope, something holy ignites. Think of dry bones in Ezekiel's valley. They remain brittle until prophecy, frail breath wrapped in obedience, began to echo across forgotten graves. The same principle stands now. Hell fears your speech because speech frames outcomes. The serpent in Eden targeted conversation first, not action, because rewriting dialogue rewrites destinies. Do not let him narrate your story. Do not loan him your vocabulary. Even sighs surrendered to me carry transformative power, but complaints rehearsed without surrender become bricks in his fortress. Speak life. Take my word, chew it, and release it like thunder disguised as a whisper. If your circumstances scoff, remember Lazarus. Decay could not debate my command when I called him forth. Borrow that precedence. Look at your dormant dreams, your wounded relationships, your long-delayed opportunities, and tell them, come out. I will back you. I will breathe on your syllables until they surge with resurrection current. Picture embers under ash. One gust revives them into flame. Your confession partnered with divine wind produces that gust. Yet beware, speaking life is not flattery, nor denial of pain. It is courageous alignment with my perspective while pain is still shouting. Is telling midnight, I know dawn exists, and thereby escorting dawn closer. And understand this urgency. Every unspoken affirmation leaks power you cannot afford to lose in this pivotal season. Death thrives on hushed, trauma festers in the unvoiced. Shame metastasizes where testimonies are withheld. Generational curses linger when nobody interrupts them with declarations of blessing. Flip that script now. Interrupt. Override. You're upped. If stuttering is all you manage, stutter truth. It carries weight regardless of eloquence. I did not anoint only polished rhetoric, I anoint and willing vocal cords. Sing over your household though notes crack. Bless your children, though they seem distant. Proclaim clarity though confusion still fibes the room. Angels interpret your intent and amplify every faith-born word into frequencies darkness cannot counterfeit. Make your home a resonance chamber of life. Post verses on walls. Play worship that curates expectation. Converse with friends in hope-infused tones that leave no space for gossip's mold. And when solitude swallows you, dialogue with me aloud. Let your bedroom hear brave sentences until your own ears believe them. The tongue, small as it is, steers ships through tempests, steer yours deliberately. Speak life at dawn, mid-commute, over lunch, during setbacks, before sleep. Let the cadence become habitual until fear finds no vacancy. Remember, internal narratives set external parameters. Change the script and you expand the borders. Do it now, not later. Later is where paralysis grows. This is the hour, mouth dry, knees knocking, heart racing, still speak. You won't crumble, you will catalyze. For wherever life is proclaimed, I, the resurrection and the life, stand ready to perform what your voice has dared to release. You cannot afford to forget what I have spoken over you, especially now, when uncertainty roams your doorstep like a familiar visitor hoping you'll invite it in. The words I've spoken into your spirit through dreams, scripture, whispers in the still hours are not ornamental. They are weapons, forged in my fire, delivered with divine accuracy, and entrusted to your grip not for display, but for warfare. You may not realize it, but every time I declared peace over you, I placed a blade in your hand. Every time I confirmed your calling, I fastened a shield to your arm. And when I reminded you of your future, I handed you a war cry. You not let those gifts gather dust in the corners of your soul. They were given because I foresaw the battles that would come. I knew discouragement would eventually knock in disguise, cloaked in logic and delayed results. I knew loneliness would attempt to slither into your heart during long, quiet seasons. And I knew confusion would crouch near crossroads, trying to counterfeit my voice. That's why I spoke ahead of time. That's why I gave you promises. They were optional, they were survival. But hear me now, swords are useless if they remain in their sheath. And doubt, while often subtle, is relentless. He will knock not once but again and again, each time with a different tone. Sometimes it arrives in the form of comparison, asking why others are further ahead. Sometimes it comes dressed as fatigue, whispering that your persistence isn't working. Sometimes it slinks in through the mouth of others, well-meaning people who tell you to lower your expectations, to accept less than what I've prepared. You cannot entertain it. The moment you sense it near, reach for what I said. Not what you felt. Not what your mind has tried to reinterpret. Not what the situation looks like. What I said. The raw and uncompromised promise. That is your weapon. Speak it out loud. Declare it until the atmosphere responds. When lies rise, counter them with truth. When your heart begins to sink, lift it by rehearsing what I told you. I am not a man that I should lie. My words are not theories, they are eternal anchors that do not shift based on mood or moment. And child, I haven't changed my mind about you. Just because time has passed or challenges have multiplied doesn't mean I've altered my design. If anything, the delays have sharpened what I'm about to do. But the manifestation depends on your agreement. That agreement is activated when you take up my words as your defense, not just your comfort. You must understand the power of my promise. It splits through darkness. It slices through mental heaviness. It carves new paths where none existed before. There is no force that can withstand a person fully convinced of my voice. That's why the attack on your confidence has been so strategic. The enemy doesn't fear your talent, he fears your belief. He fears what will happen when you stop merely surviving and start declaring. He dreads the day you wake up and remember you are armed. You've been targeted not because you're weak, but because you carry weapons strong enough to shift legacies. But they must be used. This is not a passive hour. This is not a moment for hoping it works out. This is the time to stand, to speak, to fight with the very words I entrusted to you before the battle ever began. And I will be beside you as you do. You will not swing blindly. My spirit will guide your every declaration. When you speak what I've promised, angels move. When you recite what I've guaranteed, confusion shatters. When you lift my truth like a sword, strongholds fall. Listen, for it is spiritual reality. And it's time you live in it. Don't wait for another confirmation. You already have my word. Don't look for another sign. The sword is in your hand. Unsheath it. Wield it. Watch the atmosphere shift. Not because of your effort, but because of your authority, and authority rooted in what I said, and sealed by what I cannot revoke. You must no longer permit your past mistakes to rent space in your present thoughts. This is not just about healing anymore. It's about strategy. The adversary has been using your history as a loudspeaker to try and muffle your destiny. Every time you begin to step forward, echoes of yesterday rise like ghosts, pressed in regret, wearing your voice, repeating phrases you thought you buried. You always mess things up. You weren't strong enough before. Why would now be different? You should have been further by now. These are not reflections. These are hired voices sent by hell itself to impersonate your conscience and dismantle your boldness. And today I expose them. Not because you haven't heard them before, but because you've started to believe their tone again. It stops here. You don't owe your past a platform. You don't owe shame another response. I died not just to forgive you, I died to silence every false narrator trying to rewrite your identity in the ink of failure. Listen carefully. Your history has no permission to decide your future unless you hand it the pen. Regret is persuasive because it uses truth in fragments. Yes, you did stumble. Yes, you did delay. Yes, you made choices that you now wish you hadn't. But that is not the whole story. That is not the final chapter. That is not who you are. My mercy didn't overlook those things, it overruled them. And if I no longer accuse you, why do you allow voices from a broken season to keep holding the microphone? I don't just want to restore you, I want to rewire the way you respond when those memories arise. Because they will come, and they will test your growth. But I want you to stand in those moments like a judge with final authority, slamming the gavel of grace, declaring, "This is not admissible evidence anymore." You don't have to relive what I've already redeemed. There is a lie that's been planted in many hearts that to be humble means to stay tethered to your lowest point. That is not humility. That is bondage. Real humility is when you agree with me, even when it's hard to believe something good about yourself. It is when you say, "God, if you say I'm clean, I won't argue. If you say I'm chosen, I will walk like it. If you say I'm free, I'll stop dragging chains I've already been unshackled from." And yes, the enemy will notice. And yes, he will panic. Because the moment you stop letting old failures narrate your now, you begin walking in present tense authority. You start choosing boldness again. You start hearing my voice clearer because the background noise of shame finally gets turned down. You spent too much time trying to explain your scars. I never asked you to. Scars don't need justification, they are proof you survived. Proof that I brought you out. Proof that even when it didn't look like restoration was possible, grace still found you. So stop hiding what I healed. You don't have to perform perfection. You just have to stop letting yesterday's losses define your confidence today. Every time you entertain those old accusations, you grant squatters rights to despair. But when you declare, "That was then, this is now," the eviction notice goes out. The enemy cannot live where truth reigns. And the truth is, I'm not ashamed of you. I'm not rolling my eyes when you try again. I'm not keeping a record of how many times you fell before. I'm standing, arms open, ready to partner with you in this moment, not the one you wish you had back, but this one. Right now. So silence the noise. Drown it with worship. Overpower it with declarations of who I say you are. Interrupt every lie with praise. And when your past tries to audition for a role in your future, remind it who paid the price for that script and let it know the casting has changed. You are no longer available for roles written by condemnation. You are the redeemed, the restored, the raised up child of the Most High. And your future will not be narrated by failure ever again. Pause everything for a heartbeat and picture this your everyday world laid out like a banquet hall, plates clattering with worries, cups overflowing with unfinished tasks, chairs scraped back by restless memories pacing the floor. Now, in the doorway, stands peace embodied in me, waiting for your explicit invitation to pull out the head chair and command the room. Do not underestimate how urgent this choice is, beloved, because chaos thrives on unclaimed spaces. A single empty seat becomes the foothold for tension, and tension, once seated, summons division, suspicion, and sleeplessness as eager companions. I am telling you with the gravity of a final boarding call, extend the welcome immediately. Speak it aloud if you must. Prince of Peace, be seated at the highest place. Once my presence settles, watch anxiety find no cushion, watch bickering lose its appetite, watch intrusive thoughts drift like smoke through an open window. This is not sentimental imagery. It is a tactical maneuver in spiritual governance. You have authority over the atmosphere of your home, your schedule, even the cadence of your internal dialogue, but that authority only activates when you consciously enthrone peace rather than merely admiring it from a distance. Some of you pray for calm yet reserve VIP seating for offense. Others ask for rest yet leave bitterness untouched at the far end of the table. Understand, so long as unreconciled grievances linger, true peace will not compete for elbow room. You must clear the cluttered play settings, repent where grudges still simmer, forgive before conversation resumes, apologize before the sun falls tonight. When reconciliation takes the host's position, every invitation extended to discord is automatically revoked. And make no mistake, unrest will attempt to sneak back in wearing polite disguises, urgent headlines, passive-aggressive jokes, the glare of screens long after midnight. Your vigilance is required. Keep the lamp of thankfulness burning at the center. Keep worship music humming like background conversation. Keep scripture posted on the doors like menus. Whenever tension knocks, require it to read those words first. Most times it will flee before crossing the threshold. Yet do not rely on atmosphere alone. Serve peace with actions. Pace your breathing when conflict spikes. Pour grace into family arguments before voices escalate. Choose a slower answer instead of a sharper retort. These micro-decisions weave a tablecloth of serenity that cannot be easily yanked away. Tell your children, co-workers, even your own mirror, in this space, we honor the one who stills storms. Such declarations sound small, but the unseen realm records them like court orders. Remember, I once calmed a tempest with a sentence. The same authority pulses through you when you echo my heart. Only guard against nostalgia for chaos. Yes, nostalgia. Some hearts grow addicted to drama's adrenaline, mistaking its spikes for relevance. Break that dependence by savoring the quiet until calm feels normal and uproar tastes bitter. Then, cultivate laughter, not sarcasm, conversation, not gossip, midnight prayer, not aimless scrolling. As these rhythms echo, angels set watch over your perimeter, and insomnia discovers it has nowhere to recline. Soon even your body will testify: lowered shoulders, steadier pulse, deeper sleep. This is what happens when peace, not panic, carves the seating chart. And from that anchored stance you will move into tomorrow's challenges carrying stillness like armor. Negotiations, deadlines, diagnoses, each will encounter the same unmoved center inside you. Therefore act now. Clear a chair, light the candle, lay out the finest trust you own, and announce with conviction that my peace is not a visitor but the permanent host of your table, and that any appetite for strife has been served its notice effective immediately. Irrevocable, enforced by heaven's decree. You are not starving, yet your soul is underfed. You are consuming constantly, but the meals are empty of nourishment. Every swipe, every click, every reel that drags your attention without intention is not harmless. It is a slow erosion of spiritual sharpness. Do not be deceived into believing you can continually take in noise and still hear my whisper with clarity. The world is shouting constantly, spinning images and information so rapidly that your discernment begins to dull before you even notice. That's not by accident. That's design. The goal is to distract you into spiritual amnesia, to entertain you into numbness, to keep your heart so flooded with temporary visuals that you forget the eternal vision I placed in your spirit. And I am telling you with holy urgency, fast. Not from food this time, but from the noise that has subtly replaced intimacy with me. Withdraw, not because you are losing your salvation, but because you are losing your sensitivity. This is a war for your awareness, and the front lines are in your habits. When you feed your eyes with hours of content designed to addict and not edify, you begin to crave the superficial and lose hunger for the sacred. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins when you tell yourself, just one more scroll, then again, until stillness becomes foreign and boredom feels unbearable. But boredom is not the enemy. It is often the doorway through which I enter with clarity. Silence is not your problem, it's your invitation. I have things to say to you that will not fit in an algorithm. I have secrets to reveal that will never appear in a trending hashtag. I have blueprints for your next season, but they will be buried under noise if you don't come aside. Not everything digital is evil, but if it is displacing my presence, it is a thief wearing flashy clothes. And you know this. You felt it. That inner frustration, that mental clutter, that fog that won't lift. You've noticed the shortened attention span, the irritability, the inability to focus during prayer or absorb my word without distraction. That is not just stress, that is spiritual dehydration. And while you may be doing everything else right, serving, giving, loving, surviving, the neglect of deep soul feeding will eventually cost you your clarity. That is why I am not asking, but instructing. Step away from the stream of distractions and begin to feast again. Not with guilt, but with holy urgency. Fill your inner world with my voice. Read scripture until it speaks back. Meditate until phrases become power. Listen to worship until your atmosphere shifts and you remember what peace feels like again. Let my words become your meals. Let them build your discernment back to strength. Feast on the Psalms until tears come. Dwell in Proverbs until wisdom interrupts your impulses. Absorb the Gospels until you hear my voice in every story. I will meet you there not as a distant deity, but as a friend who has been waiting in the quiet for your return. And in that stillness, I will recalibrate your soul. Your vision will sharpen. You will sense things before they speak. You will discern danger before it manifests. You will detect my movement even in the smallest nudge. Your spirit will remember what it means to feel again deeply, fully, without digital filters numbing your sensitivity. And yes, it will be uncomfortable at first. You may feel restless. You may hear nothing initially. You may even grieve the absence of stimulation. But wait. Keep cunning. Sit longer. Even if it feels like a wilderness, I promise there is water beneath that silence. And once you taste it again, nothing else will satisfy you. You'll no longer crave distraction, you'll crave depth. You'll stop checking for updates every 5 minutes and begin checking your spirit for alignment. You'll stop measuring your worth by attention and begin measuring it by assignment. You'll walk through your day hearing me in moments others rush past. You'll discern what's coming before it arrives. You'll regain what was slipping from you, your inner stillness, your conviction, your purpose. So fast, not out of legalism, but out of longing. Not just for a break, but for a breakthrough. Let the scroll stop and the seeking start. Let the feast begin where the noise ends. And in this space, I will restore to you a depth of discernment that the world can never take again. In this hour, you must become intentional with every alliance you permit near your purpose. You are not just choosing friends, you are choosing spiritual climates. You are selecting voices that will either stoke your flame or slowly suffocated under layers of compromise masked as charm. The people you walk closest with are not neutral. Their habits, their words, their spiritual temperature, these things rub off on you even when you aren't paying attention. And now, more than ever, you can't afford to treat proximity casually. Every step matters. Every conversation has weight. I am speaking to your discernment now. Pay attention not only to what people say, but to how your spirit responds after spending time with them. Are you stirred to chase me harder? Or are you dulled, relaxed into comfort that convinces you there's no need to examine yourself? Some will make you laugh. Yes, but not all laughter is holy. There is a kind that numbs, not heals. A kind that mocks what's sacred, softens what should be sharp, and keeps you entertained enough to ignore the slow leak in your conviction. I am not against joy. I offer joy. But I will not let joy become an excuse for spiritual laziness. I will not let fun become your justification for relationships that pull you further from my fire. There are voices that used to speak truth, but now prefer flattery. There are companions who once stood for righteousness but now shrug off compromise as if it's maturity. I see how your soul feels unsettled around them, but you stay, hoping they'll change, or worse, because it's easier than confronting distance. But child, ease is not always safety. Peace is not always passive. Sometimes protection demands distance. Not because you hate them, but because you love me more. I am drawing you into a season of refining. That means the voices in your ear must echo the direction of your calling. You can no longer afford connections that applaud delay, minimize repentance, or make you feel strange for hungering after purity. I know you feel the pressure to keep ties for the sake of loyalty, tradition, or shared history, but history doesn't equal destiny. Not everyone who began the race with you is meant to finish beside you. And that's not rejection, that's pruning. Even Jesus chose 12 but kept 3 closest in his most critical moments. You too must discern who is meant to walk in your inner circle, who strengthens your resolve when you feel tired, who reminds you of the cost when your vision blurs, who dares to speak correction, not to shame you but to sharpen you. These are your people. Treasure them. Go nearer. And for those who once held that place but now mock your depth, do not argue, just step back with grace and let me deal with the shifts. Surround yourself with those who refuse to let your fire go out. Friends who intercede, not just chat. Voices that press you toward truth, even when it's uncomfortable. People who have eternity in their eyes and holiness in their tone. These are not religious people, they are surrendered people. There's a difference. The surrendered will weep with you, war with you, fast with you, speak life into you. They won't let you sit in silence when your spirit is under siege. They won't enable patterns that numb your sensitivity. They will stir the oil in your lamp when they see it running low. This is your moment to realign. Let go of the voices that excuse sin with cleverness. Walk away from gatherings where conviction is mocked and mediocrity is normalized. I will provide new alignments, ones who carry the fire you need, ones who see the gold in you and won't let you bury it beneath approval seeking. And yes, there may be lonely moments as the crowd thins, but I promise, the clarity will be worth the solitude. You are not being isolated. You are being set apart. Because what's ahead requires deeper purity, bolder speech, and unwavering focus. So, choose your company like your life depends on it, because it does. And I will walk closely with you, surrounding you with those who reflect my heart, amplify your vision, and ignite your spirit when the world tries to dim your flame. Let me speak to something that is quietly weakening the foundations of many, not through visible storms, but through slow, silent corrosion. Unhealed bitterness. This unseen rust begins as justified disappointment, hardens into offense, and settles like residue over the heart until mercy becomes unnatural, until grace feels forced, until love becomes cautious and measured. Bitterness doesn't announce its entrance. It hides in silence. It waits in unspoken memories. It wraps itself in phrases like "I've moved on," "It doesn't matter anymore," or "I'm fine." But I, the one who sees the condition of your soul before you speak a word, know when you are only surviving under layers of spiritual decay. And today, I'm calling you out of that hidden rot, not to shame you but to restore your armor. You see, bitterness is not only emotional, it's spiritual acid. It eats through your defenses slowly. It clouds discernment, it weakens compassion, and it poisons the flow of my voice within you. It creates cracks that allow the enemy easier access, not because I have withdrawn from you, but because you have unknowingly hosted what I never gave permission to stay. And the most dangerous part is how bitterness disguises itself as strength. It will tell you you're just being careful, that you're just protecting your peace, that you've learned your lesson. But I tell you the truth, when the lesson becomes a wall that mercy can't scale, it's no longer wisdom, it's a prison. And I didn't rescue you so you could live behind invisible bars. I'm not asking you to forget the pain. I'm asking you to surrender the right to stay angry about it. That's mercy, not denial, but decision. A decision to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you cannot afford the luxury of carrying chains in a war that demands your full mobility. Your armor must remain intact, and mercy is what polishes it. Mercy is what clears the vision, what softens the voice, what breaks the grip of vengeance pretending to be justice. You must rehearse it again and again until it becomes a reflex, not a burden. Speak it over those who never apologized. Whisper it when their name comes up like step to the. Declare it in prayer until the mention of their face no longer interrupts your peace. And I know that seems impossible now. You may be thinking, but they haven't changed. They haven't made it right. They moved on while I bled. Yes, I saw it all. I grieved with you in every moment of betrayal. I held your heart while others trampled it. But now I ask you, do you trust me to repay what was taken? Do you believe that I can redeem every shattered fragment without needing your bitterness as fuel? Because I can, and I will, but only when you release what you were never meant to carry. Mercy is not passivity, it's a weapon of the unoffendable. It's power cloaked in kindness. It is a declaration to the spiritual realm that you are not governed by hurt, but by heaven. That you refuse to become like those who harmed you. That you choose my nature over your justified rage. And once you begin to walk this out, you will notice the shift. Your mind will clear. Your sleep will deepen. Your prayers will regain strength. Your steps will feel lighter. And your armor, once worn thin by hidden resentment, will shine again, ready for battle without cracks of compromise. Practice mercy the way a musician practices scales. Not just when it's needed, but until it becomes instinct. Until love overrides irritation. Until forgiveness is quicker than offense. Until you no longer need to defend your choice to others because peace will speak louder than any explanation. You are not weak for letting it go. You are wise. You are powerful. You are free. And in that freedom, you will regain clarity, purpose, and resilience no enemy can steal. So rehearse mercy, over and over, until your heart moves in rhythm with mine, strong, soft, untouchable by bitterness, and covered in unbreakable peace. This fight you're facing isn't just physical, emotional, or circumstantial, it's deeply spiritual, and the weapons required aren't found in your natural strength. That's why I don't begin your training with a sword in your hand, but with your heart bowed low before me. It is not weakness to kneel before the battle begins. It is wisdom. The fiercest warriors are those who have learned that surrender to me is the first sign of strength, not the last act of desperation. I am not looking for those who appear powerful on the outside, but are unraveling within. I am looking for hearts that tremble before me before they ever roar in front of giants. And that begins on your knees, not as a posture of defeat, but as a position of transfer. This is where the burden shifts. This is where your anxiety